He's kind of a slave to this one thing, and that's his sexual desires.
Well, I mean, he has two, liquor and you know,
Yeah, that's true.
both of them.
He,
Which he
he's a
uses
mental nutcase.
paint thinner. Paint
My
thinner.
God,
I
yeah,
looked
that
at
was
the
crazy.
what was he was using like the picture stuff adding it and like what
Oh,
is he
that
doing?
little
Like,
Play-Doh, little,
Yeah,
it's like, dang.
it's like a superpower, like you said, Matt. Like,
He's like the MacGyver of boozers. I mean, this guy,
yes,
how did
yes.
he
this guy can
how
make
does he not get
anything.
poisoned?
I mean, with your best friends, Trey Sterling and Matt, the film schmucks. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Film Schmucks here. I'm Matt. We got Trey right over there. We got Sterling right down below. Before we get into the video real quick, I just want to say thanks for subscribing, liking, and commenting and all that stuff. I hate saying it. I know everyone says it. It's lame. But look, the real fact of the matter is it actually does help. And it's cool. We like seeing the reviews. We like seeing the comments. Even if you're on us, it's fun to read. It's, if we can make it out, it's fun. So and I also want to give a shout out. We got someone upset in the comments that we didn't give him a shout out. I didn't know it was mandatory to give shout outs to everybody because we said nostalgia is real, is the coolest person in the world or whatever. We got this comment before. Now please comment on this video if you see this, because I never know how to pronounce this. Abby J or ABIJ. So I don't know if it's Abai J or Abby J. ABIJ, they said, I don't get a shout out, man. Come on. And they said, where's my comment? Nostalgia isn't that important or funny, man. Get it together. So I don't want to cause a beef in the comments, but
Did Nostalgia say something back?
not that I know of.
No.
Oh
So
man.
tune in next week because I got
Yeah.
to see what the drama in the
For an
comments.
update.
No, we love everybody. We love all the comments. We love them from everybody. So I want to get straight into the movie.
Yeah, let's
Sterling
go.
picked the movie this week. Sterling, do you want to just give a quick introduction on what movie you picked?
Yeah, so I picked Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. And judging by some of the pregame talk, it sounds like this might be a lively discussion. So I guess we can just get straight into it. Trey, I'm just curious because I picked this movie knowing that would probably challenge you the most as far as what you like in movies. I'm curious, what did you think overall of everything of The Master?
Let's first clarify with the audience.
Okay.
Let's not mince words here. Sterling, the Rainmaker, Sprainmaker, Ankle Breaker Reigns said to me, he didn't say this is going to challenge you. He said, I picked this because I know in my heart of hearts, you will hate it. So apparently he was right, and he hates my soul because my God, no, I could go on the whole spiel, but he did say that. I'm not lying on that respect, but
No, you're not.
I will say that he must dislike me for picking movies like this because I didn't hate it. Let's be real, because the acting is so good. Like near the first 30 minutes, everywhere you turn, you're like Amy Adams. I went to high school with her. She went to my high school. Anyway,
Really?
um, yeah,
Is
she
that a
went to my
true
high
film
school.
schmucks fact?
Yeah,
That's a true Douglas County High School. Yep, she went to my high
I,
school.
How? Oh,
I
wow.
confirm that.
So yeah, anyway, then we got Queen himself over there, whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
Remy
And
something.
then
Remy?
yeah, there we go. And
Remy
yeah,
Malek.
There
those
we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, Remy comments, you don't know who that is? They're gonna hate on us. So everywhere you turn,
it's true.
everywhere you turn, there was great actors. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so yeah, I didn't hate it. Obviously, this was a Joaquin Phoenix's audition for Joker, black and white. My goodness, I mean, I couldn't make heads or tails with it with this performance, but you know, come on, great acting. I mean, I can't hate on the acting. It just, we're gonna get into this after Matt. You say what your piece. We got to get into what the hell was this movie about? Was he like, yeah, at the very end, I'm like, was he imagining the whole thing? we're gonna get into it because like I'm so
Let's.
confused because you're saying
Yeah.
it's a challenging movie. I didn't think this was gonna be challenging in the respect of I needed to read the book, read the synopsis, read the script to understand this movie, Sterling. My
Well,
goodness, where are we in this day and
uh,
age? Tell
I'll
me what you think this movie's about. Well,
well
after
I can.
Matt says.
Yeah, no, I can let Matt go. But I was just going to say that I might have some answers to your question.
I would
Thank
But
you.
say. I
Well,
mean,
I hope so.
I say let's just jump right into it. I mean, if you have answers, because I think to me, the movie, there were events happening in the movie, and stuff kind of happened. I didn't feel like there was an overall story or arc happening. And look, not
Yeah.
every movie needs that, but I think this movie, it's like you still have, if you're gonna do this where there's not like a really profound message in the movie, and I'm sure here's my feeling. I feel like if you ask whoever wrote this, I don't know if Paul Thomas Anderson wrote it or just directed it, I feel like they would say it's really deep, and the waves, and that was meaningful, and the thing on the beach, and all the cutbacks, and his thing, and this message, and this, it was all this deep
It's dry
allegory or
humping.
something. The problem is maybe that connected to the writer. Maybe that made sense to the writer. It didn't seem, I just don't see how, I don't know. It didn't connect with me as an audience person. And I really was really open to the movie. But when there was about a half hour left in the movie, I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Because this is make or break
Yeah,
now.
no.
I'm like something
Yeah.
interesting better happen. And it just
Yep.
never really did. And
Yep.
the biggest thing for me is that, look, really good acting is really good acting. And it makes sense that the movie was nominated for acting, or won for acting, I think. Who won on this one? Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah.
I think so.
So, but the thing is,
Supporting
like,
actor, I think.
I like good acting too, but there has to still be an interesting movie to watch amongst the way. And I kept thinking it was going to get interesting, like, the whole cult. By the way, I had no idea what this movie was about. So as I got into it, I was like, okay, we have an interesting character, Joaquin Phoenix. For some reason, he can craft alcohol in any environment, it's like a superpower. And that was really cool. And I liked it when he accidentally poisoned the guy or whatever, and he's freaking out. He's in denial. He's a really interesting character. And then we meet the master. He's a really interesting character once again. And we start figuring out he's a cult leader. But to me, that's all the movie has, is that you have two interesting characters who are really good actors. And nothing ever really happened. And I know that people are going to be like, well, you just didn't get the movie. It was really profound and you just didn't get it. But at some point, that's an excuse, because at some point, the movie should have connected with me. Now, I'm only one person, too. So maybe if I was an alcoholic or a sex addict or
count
something.
me in.
But I don't want to pull a parasite on it. So what I do want to say is I did just watch the movie. So I think certain things could resonate with me more over time. It's just my snap reaction is great acting and you have two really interesting characters. But the movie itself, my bottom line for a movie is it entertaining or not? And this movie at a certain point wasn't very entertaining.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty fair from both of you, honestly. I do think there is one profound message at the end that I did kind of identify with a little bit. Now, I will say it's not the most profound movie, and it is kind of I would say probably kind of abstract in some of the imagery that it shows. Now, the pacing is definitely an issue. And wait, what? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
It was just a joke. He said titties.
Okay. I mean,
if there's any kind of profound imagery.
That's
God's profound imagery.
It's true. Just some interesting
that was at the end, right?
Yeah.
I watched this movie, right?
But I will say that sorry, there's a line at the end with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character and Joaquin Phoenix, and he says that one line at the end where he says, "If you can find a way of living without serving a master, please tell the rest of us." And I think that is a pretty interesting message because basically Seymour Hoffman's character he's trying to wrangle Freddy, who he's just trying to like control him, and he can't. But he's kind of obsessed with it in a way, and so it's interesting seeing how at that end discussion that they have, he is kind of like he's torn up inside because he realizes he can't control Joaquin Phoenix, but he somehow respects him that he can live that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
I
that's
get
one
that.
thing that's one thing you can take out of the movie, I think.
That's a good
But
point. I didn't think of that, and I will say I think
What?
that actually is a good point. That does seem to be the central theme of the movie is this guy trying to really help. He keeps thinking he could fix this guy, and then this
yeah,
other guy, I don't know. But it's yeah, that's
but
interesting.
but here's another message too that I think is pretty, and it's something you have to interpret. It's not spelled out. But I think for the two main characters, you're kind of seeing two different sides of insanity. Uh, Joaquin Phoenix's character is kind of more outwardly mentally insane. He's more kind of blunt about it. It's very obvious that he's cuckoo up there. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, the Master, is a different kind of insanity. It's a lot more hidden. It's
Yeah,
more subtle, especially in those moments. Like there's that one moment where that lady comes up to him with the book, and she's like, "Oh,
yeah,
like this is weird that you made this change." And as soon as she kind of tries to backtalk him a little bit, he just snaps like
yeah,
crazy, like a madman. And honestly, the things he's saying are insane. Even his son says that he's basically insane.
yeah.
He's just making it up he's just making it up.
Well,
So I
I have to say that's one of the things I like about his character. A lot of times when you show like cult leaders in movies and stuff, they are always just shown the charlatan route.
yeah,
And there's another side of that, which is there are people who maybe even if they started off not believing it, but there are people who start, just like, smelling their own farts at a certain point.
yeah,
And
Well,
he,
they talk about it too.
yeah, and in this movie, there was no, even in private, there was never like some kind of reveal, like he knows that he's being some kind of charlatan or like, trying to making stuff up. He really does
yeah,
seem like he believes the shit that he's saying, and that made him
yeah,
an more interesting character than he could have been. And you're right.
yeah,
I think that moment when she asked about the book and he freaks out, that was him on some level knowing that it's bullshit on some deep level, and
yeah,
that was him getting just totally defensive. Same thing when the guy calls him out at the house party. He
yeah,
tries to stay calm for a little bit, and then he gets to the point where he's like, you pig or whatever he says,
yeah,
and it's like, why would
yeah.
you say, wait a minute, if you really have like these answers and they're and you've thought it out, why would you get so hostile? The other guy wasn't hostile, so
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he was. I totally would have thought you had been looking at it at a different angle because I'm gonna throw a wrench in here and say I don't know necessarily saw him as a cult leader. Maybe he was full of crap, but that the one scene you guys brought up about him snapping, that was the one scene that kind of like, oh, okay, he is completely crazy, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what I will say is, I thought the guy that was interrupting him was out of line, and I thought he was the one was just trying to push buttons and that's why everybody has an overload. They
mhm.
overload with something, right? Everybody does
Yeah,
in
yeah,
today's day and age. Like the guy was just pushing them. Like they did obviously we say this a lot for the plot. They threw that guy in there like, hey, why do you want to prove this, prove that, prove this, and I thought the counter was really good. Like, if you know the answers before you're asking me, why are you
yeah,
asking me?
yeah.
I thought that was a good counter. So I was totally on Seymour's side, and I don't. And here's the wrench that I mentioned earlier, and I was gonna say I was gonna throw some liquor on this fire that we started, but the
Nice.
uh, yeah, I with you guys mentioned him trying to control Joaquin, and I honestly, the wife did. Okay, now this popped up. Like the wife really was the one that kind of had. She was like the behind the scenes. She was like Wizard of Oz, and kind of seemed like too in some of the scenes. Because like
Yeah.
when he's like typing manically after incident, and she's speaking it to him. Do you guys remember that scene?
Yeah.
So, and then she's like always like, he's not good for us, you know. So I get where you guys come from in that respect, but for
Yeah.
controlling, I thought I didn't really see the control part any time really. I thought he was like really just he found the guy. He was drunk, I guess, and said, "Hey, I'll help. If you have work for me, I'll work for you." He thought he was an interesting person. He was gonna, hey, do these like exercises. Let me help you, because obviously Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is crazy, but he could totally see that Joaquin is a crazy character, right? So I
Oh
thought there
yeah.
was so I thought it was a genuine, like, he wants to help him,
Yeah.
No,
and it. Yeah, go ahead.
I
I
agree.
got
I
one.
agree with that. I was gonna say. I think I think this kind of shows that there can be people that think they're doing good, but the actions themselves are actually more controlling than they intentionally want. And
Okay.
so especially with the processing that he does, the sessions that he does
Oh
with
yeah,
Walking
the
Phoenix.
walls.
Yeah, the walls.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
in his mind, and I think his name is Lancaster. In Lancaster's mind, he believes he's helping him. Like he really does
Hmm.
believe that. But the methods he's using is pure manipulation.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I
Well,
think I think that's why he's so frustrated by the end, why he's kind of sad that Joaquin Phoenix doesn't join them in the end,
mhm.
because in a way, Lancaster's a slave to his own ideology.
Mm.
The ideology, the bullshit ideas are the master themselves. And that's why he's so sad and kind of jealous, I think, in a way, of Joaquin Phoenix's character, Freddy, because the guy literally he does anything he wants. Like
Yeah.
he serves no master whatsoever.
Mhm.
So that's kind of
And
what
they
I
they
took away
force.
from it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that actually. I agree that you agree in your interpretation of what I was saying. I love that. I mean, you're twisting me here. You're making me come back to he was manipulated. I see what you're doing. Now you're manipulating
Ah,
me.
yeah, I
uh,
see what's going on here. You
so
gonna be
there
writing
were
a book
two.
soon, Sterling?
It's coming later.
Oh my gosh!
Uh,
No, so I think you're onto something, and uh, there was two scenes that I really thought this movie was gonna just go in a totally different direction, which it didn't. Like this, I think the two best scenes to me, obviously, I think are obvious, are the first time when he's recording him and he
oh
don't
yeah,
close your eyes. My goodness, the
that
acting
was
in
so
that
good. Yeah.
insane. And the jail cell scene
Oh
was
Yeah,
yeah,
amazing,
that was
like
really good.
incredible. So
yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say before, because but those two scenes, if you want to pick up there, I mean those two scenes, like like I said, I thought they were gonna go in a totally different direction, which I think is probably a good thing, because
Yeah,
you couldn't guess where the movie was gonna go.
yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, I totally agree that you don't know where it's going. I almost watched a trailer for the movie, and I didn't, because I was like, wait a minute, this is one of the few times where I only heard about this movie because when Joker was coming out, people kept going, yeah, his performance in Joker's good, but man, The Master, that's his best performance. I disagree, by the way, but I thought his performance in Joker was better, but maybe that's just because I like the
Yeah,
movie better. But we can get to that later. I was gonna say
I agree.
I was like, because they made it a big deal that like he's cutting coconuts off a tree and like making these little drinks, and then when the first conversation he has with Lancaster, is that his name?
Yeah.
Is he goes, this potion, it's magical, can you make more? And I was like,
I
so I
know.
was like, oh, is this movie gonna go like some weird route where they like start making moonshine, or some weird thing, you know what I mean? I didn't know where it was going, so I thought that's where it's going. And when it started getting, but then the guy was like, I'm a astrophysicist and a
Yeah.
philosopher and all this stuff. I was like, weird. And then when he
Yeah.
does the recording and the processing thing, I was like, this is weird. Is he a therapist? What's he trying to do? And then Christy was the first one who put it into my head, but she goes, because she started watching the movie literally right when he met that guy. And she was like, oh, yeah. She's like, I like these kind of movies when someone gets caught up in some kind of like intellectual cult or something. And I was like, interesting. I was like, and so I started thinking, and then me and Christy literally thought, because they didn't say the name of Philip Seymour Hoffman yet, and because of the era this movie took place, we actually thought this was going to be some kind of biopic about Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, because of the similarities were so striking that we kept going, wait, is this supposed to be Scientology? And then I was like, maybe it's just a parody of Scientology. And that's what it seemed to be. It's I mean, not parody as in comedy, but I just mean like it seemed to be like similar. I mean, the way they were doing those things and all the stuff with the staring and all that, that's straight up Scientology stuff. So like I thought that it was supposed to be at first, I think he is supposed, so then I'm like, okay, this is basically supposed to be a rip on like cults or something, but then it never quite went fully into the cult thing. It did a little bit, but it was more about the characters. So that was another angle that it didn't quite fully explore. It did a little bit, but it didn't quite get there. So in one way it was cool that the movie kept me going, where's this going? But then by the end of it, I ended up feeling a little like underwhelmed and disappointed because I was like, oh, it never quite went anywhere interesting enough for me.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think, well, first of all, you kind of nailed it. It is heavily inspired by the kind of the origins of the Scientology faith. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do this, but I will say I watched a lot of documentaries on Scientology.
Yeah.
And this is my second time watching this. The first time I watched it, I really hadn't done that much research on Scientology, but then after watching Leah Remini's documentary and like an HBO documentary,
I've seen Louis Theroux's documentary.
Yeah,
it's called My Scientology Movie.
I'll say this: having that prior knowledge and while watching this movie does kind of benefit the experience because you see a lot of kind of little like Easter eggs and a lot of references that are very similar to what Scientologists believe, especially about like the past lives thing.
Yes,
like all
the
that.
past lives, the way they do the things. They didn't ever say certain key words of Scientology, like thetans, but there was a part where Philip Seymour Hoffman said something like, we can remove all your bad energies but go back to like zero or whatever. And I was like, man, they're really playing it close here as far as the language.
Okay.
And I did think that was an interesting thing. Obviously it's not necessary to watch a movie, but it definitely you could see the inspiration. And him being, what made me think it was supposed to be L. Ron Hubbard at first was that he even said he was like, because he owned the boat and he said he was the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, L. Ron Hubbard was never actually in the military. He was never a Navy person or whatever, but he did make himself a captain of a ship and like even wore Navy gear. Like it was some weird.
Man.
So there was a lot of weird references.
Yeah.
Sterling's frozen right now with are you is that on yours like that?
Yeah. What the hell?
He's like frozen making a frowning face.
No. Every week, baby. Every week.
Gotta keep the tradition, baby. Cut it.
We're
not editing this one out.
No, every week this happens, and I love it every time. That was
all right. my wife. Sorry, my Wi-Fi completely crashed.
I thought you were gonna say your wife.
Your Wi-Fi.
I thought he was gonna go. Sorry, guys, my wife came in. I gotta, All right.
And it's pretty much the same thing.
So
Sorry.
Okay, so you guys are did you have something, Sterling? Because I thought you were just silent.
Well, what was the last thing you said, Matt?
I just said the Navy. I just said the Navy thing was making me think that. At first, it really did make me think it was actually supposed to be him. It took me a sec, but that's all I was saying.
Well, no, that's the thing too. Is like if you know like a little bit about the history of what L. Ron Hubbard was doing in the 50s, and the fact that he basically sailed pretty close to around the world, because he's basically evading governments because he was in a lot of legal trouble.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're in international waters, you can get away with a lot. So he actually bought 3 ships, and he had basically his whole cult on those 3 ships,
And you just kept
and
transferring to different ships.
which now is they actually have a clergy for their church called the Sea Organization, which is basically they're priests, they're full-time like churchgoers, and it's based off of what they used to be, which is on the sea at all times. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Going back to Lancaster, the Seymour Hoffman. Like I said earlier, I didn't really kind of get that sense, but forgot that show with Michael Shannon that came out about the 1994 disaster in Waco, Texas. I think it was called Waco.
Waco, yeah.
Like that cult.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that cult. So I know a little bit like what like a cult can be. So I like you said, like Matt said, it wasn't really going all the way with it. So maybe that's why I didn't really notice it as much because I don't
Yeah.
know anything about Hubbard, whatever the guy's name is for Scientology. So I'm sorry to the audience, but I didn't. So going into that, I did not necessarily think that he was a villain. Like obviously there was like the couple moments, where he went crazy with the guy that interrupted him, even though I took his side while watching it. But then with snapping at his friend, asking about, hey, why is this change in the book? So there's some stuff that he was being a little crazy. So I didn't really see him as a villain. So like I kind of going with what Matt was saying, like, where is this going? And it never really went anywhere. So I don't know, Sterling, if you want to add anything to that, or is there supposed to be a villain? Like, is he the villain to you? I mean, like I said, I thought he was a good guy for the most part. I didn't, maybe I'm easily, fibbed, and maybe I'm in the cult right now. I don't know it, So let me know. Get me out of here, So, what is there a bad guy in this movie? Do you think?
No, it's not that kind of movie. It's not your typical protagonist antagonist storyline. So it's just
They kind of did set him up that way, though.
Yeah. It seemed like
kind
there
of
would be. I agree with you that this is what I'm saying. He didn't come off. He wasn't like this is some manipulative. I mean, he was sort of manipulative as a person, but they didn't play it off like he's just taking people's money and starting this cult.
Yep.
They didn't play into that at all, really. And he actually did seem like like I said, he kind of believed his own shit. So he didn't come off straight up. And I kept thinking, I don't know, I just kept thinking he was going to, I don't know, at some point turn and like start killing people or something, and he never did. So it was interesting.
Oh wait, Joaquin or Seymour?
Seymour. I
Okay.
just meant
I
I
thought
thought
the
at some
opposite.
point he might have. Yeah, Joaquin did attack someone, and that also never went anywhere. By the way, in
I thought he was
public.
going to kill somebody. I thought that was going to be a twist.
Yeah. Or I thought he
kinda-
would sleep with the daughter and something would happen. They
Yes!
played that up, and that never
That was
happened
weird.
either.
That
Dude,
was weird.
I want to get into this. We can do a whole segment on the sexual
Let's do
stuff
it.
in this movie and how unnecessary it was.
Oh, you don't like that stuff. You don't like that. Okay. Tell me
Well,
why it's
I
unnecessary
don't mind.
in this movie.
I don't mind sexual stuff in movies that furthers in some way. But there's
I know.
a couple of scenes in this movies where I was like, oh, is this supposed to be something interesting that pays something off? And it didn't. And I think one of the scenes, one of the main ones, and here's why. Sex in movies, if it doesn't have a reason behind it, comes off funny. So when Philip Seymour Hoffman is singing and everyone's naked because Joaquin is imagining it, that was just funny. And it's like, I don't think it was supposed to be funny. And this is the problem. Now that scene, you could say, okay, Joaquin Phoenix, it's clear that Joaquin Phoenix has some kind of sexual problem along with his alcoholism. They hint at it in the movie. Scene 2, that scene's whatever. It's hit or miss. He's kind of psychotic, so whatever. Amy Adams off Philip Seymour Hoffman in the bathroom.
Oh God!
If that scene wasn't in the movie, would anyone go, I feel like this movie's missing something? It didn't show, it didn't clarify anything, and it was funny. And I'm like, is this a comedy movie we're watching? Because I'm like laughing over here, and that's the problem.
Can I say something? Go ahead, Sterling. Okay.
No,
I'm gonna forget.
Go. Well, if you're gonna forget, just go.
No, you're right. So 2 things. Okay, I didn't think it was funny. I just thought it was weird. But the 2 scenes So you're telling me he was imagining? I thought that guy was so crazy that there were naked women in that room. So I'm crazy.
Well, I thought so too for a second, but because at first I was like, well, wait, is this just cutting and naked people are coming out? But if you look right before that,
Yeah.
you have the old lady playing the piano and you have the girl on the cello. When they're naked, all of a sudden they're all naked, and
Oh.
I'm like, well, they didn't undress that quick. So that's when I realized it was Joaquin
Okay.
imagining everyone naked because he's got
Yeah.
some
All
kind
right.
of sexual issue.
All
Yeah.
right. Now, riddle me this, Sterling. Uh, we'll get
I have a
even though
third
we got
scene, by the way, to mention, but
you gonna forget it.
no, I won't forget. Trust
Okay.
me, I will
Okay.
not forget this.
But anyway,
Unfortunately.
I'll forget this. If I don't see this, like I say, riddle me this, Sterling. We got the Joker, and we got the Penguin in this movie. I love it, man. I mean, R.I.P. Philip Seymour Hoffman, man, the guy that should have been Penguin. But anyway,
Oh, that's a
I digress. So, because he was cast. But anyway, the second scene was when he got the phone call in the movie theater. I thought, okay, so that time I did notice that. I think maybe it's the opposite. I thought it was clear that he woke up from a dream answering the call. Is that true, or am I flipping the scenes where I should have known it was a dream and it wasn't a dream in the movie theater? Did he dream that, hey, come, you say I need to see you, I know where we met? Did he dream that phone call, and that's how he like? How do you guys interpret that?
Christy.
I didn't
Oh,
interpret it as a dream, honestly.
oh, really?
Christy mentioned, because she goes, why are they acting like they didn't invite him there? Which is fair enough, because they're acting like, why
Yep,
the f did
that's
you just
exactly
show up
it.
in England or whatever?
Yep, yep.
Now, I can go a little bit either way on this. I said that I didn't think it was a dream. One, the movie never set anything up like that before. It would be really weird if all of a sudden in the last 20 minutes of the movie, they just have a dream sequence. Do you know what I mean? They didn't do that before. I guess they have the naked people, but
That's what, yeah.
so okay,
Yeah.
so but even that thing at that point aside, it first of all I thought that the guy was going to kick him out of the theater because he's sleeping in there, and he pulls a
Yeah.
full rotary phone out. That was weird. So that I'll give it to. That was a little dreamlike. But here's the only problem I have. He asked him to bring him the cigarettes, and he brought him the cigarettes, and Philip Seymour Hoffman didn't go, oh my God, you remembered. He just was like, oh yeah, you brought them, as if he expected it. Now, two, how would he know where to find them? I mean, how did he know where they were at in England without the actual phone call?
Then but like he said, he like Seymour Joaquin kept on saying, "How did you find me? How did you find me?" So I would flip it.
Okay.
How did
Another
you know?
point in your
Oh,
favor,
okay.
my friend, is
Oh,
that Christy said too. She was
oh yeah.
like, how she was like, he just said England on the phone. He didn't
Yeah.
say come to 1405 Westchester. And so it reminded me of Wayne's World 2 when they go to get the roadie and he's like, so did he give you an address? And Wayne's like, yes, he said exactly London, England. And they just show up exactly to his apartment somehow. That's what it reminded me of. So it could go either way. It could go either way.
Uh, yeah.
And real quick, and he the reason why that I thought was clear is because he was talking on the phone, and they cut and he wakes up, like they cut to like a next scene, but in the same spot
Okay.
where he wakes up. That's why I
Oh,
thought
he
it.
does? Okay.
You know,
Maybe I missed that.
yeah.
Maybe I missed that then.
Oh, Mel,
But
that's
it
maybe
makes
why you say
sense.
okay.
Why would the usher have a phone? How did he know he was in the
Mm-hmm.
theater? The more I think
Yep.
about it, the more it's not adding up. I think maybe it was a dream.
Yep. Sterling, tell us why it wasn't. But even though I don't think it was I think it was a dream. I can't talk.
I mean, those are some pretty good points that I didn't really think about. But I think, well, for one thing, it was the master who invited him, but obviously his wife was not open to the idea whatsoever. But again, it's the master's word against her word. So, as far as that goes, like it would only take the master to invite Joaquin for him to go there. So
Yeah.
with no problem. Um, but as far as like him just saying I'm in England, it's like you you could say that, well, we only saw part of the conversation. He could have literally
Yeah.
a few minutes later told him the address, but it's a movie. It's
It's
cutting
a
a
You gotta
family
watch
frame.
movie.
Casper the Friendly Ghost and finish that up. And
Exactly. Yeah.
But it was the cigarettes. He knows the guy likes those cigarettes. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, like he
yeah,
didn't make a big deal out of it, you know. And Amy
Yeah.
Adams didn't like that he was there, but she, to me, the acting showed to me was why are you here? Get out of here. We don't want you. That's why we're here, you know. Or so to me, that's how I interpreted it. But I agree. I see what you're saying, though, Sterling. To give you a little something.
Well, here's the thing though. This whole movie does kind of feel like a dream in some ways
Yes, that was the other question. Yeah.
because, and not just like a dream, like it almost feels like you're being processed in a way. I don't know that like you're being like you're shown like all these different imageries and all these like
yeah,
kind of disjointed like scenes and just really weird shit going on, and like it's just not very clear cut, but it's like the way that this cult processes people, like out of the blue they'll just ask like the most random like stupid questions. They'll like, why is he touching a wooden wall? Why is he touching a
yeah.
window? What the hell? Like, how is that supposed to help him? So it's like this whole thing feels like a dream at sometimes it feels like that, but who knows?
I will say this. I remember what I was going to say earlier. Kind of goes with what you were saying about the walls. When he snaps at the lady, I kind of understood what he was saying about why he changed the language, and
Yeah,
he started explaining like instead of using this tight little I forgot the phrasing. I know the second one where he changed it to imagine. I forgot what the first part was, but
Yeah,
he's like it's broader. It's easier
right.
to
Yeah.
open the mind. I'm like I get that, okay. And then she kept on asking questions. He snapped. He's crazy, whatever. But I kind of
Well,
understood that.
that's yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
I think you're right. I think actually that's the thing about the character. He's super charismatic, and they show it from the beginning. And most cult leaders or people in starting those types of groups at least are you generally known to be super charismatic and very likable and very good with words and kind of wordplay and stuff. So I think that was a good point that they had on it. But yeah, he does end up when someone pushes him a little bit too far in any direction, he snaps.
Yep.
And then that's
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, I think that's actually a good thing. He actually does. He doesn't just. That's what I liked in the movie is like the one guy's grilling him about, hey, well, how does this make sense with science or logic or whatever it is? The guy has pretty good, if you were just in the room listening, sounded like really good responses where it's like,
yeah.
hey, he's making good points here. You know what I mean? And that's actually was a cool thing that they did where it's like they're showing that he's really charismatic and really quick at thinking on the fly. And that was good.
well, but
And he gets beat
yeah,
up. That was awesome. They don't show
It
it.
was hard to tell whether that Philip Seymour Hoffman sent them or
I
Joaquin
don't think
Phoenix
so.
just went because most of the movie Joaquin Phoenix just beats people up, and it seems like Philip Seymour Hoffman just kind of lets it happen. But
yeah. Well, that's the thing
Uh,
about. Well, I wanted to add a little bit to like the kind of this disorienting things that happen, like not just the processing sessions, but whenever Rami Malek and Joaquin Phoenix they're doing that session where they're just saying the most like harsh and most like brutal insults to each other and they can't react. Those are things Scientologists do, by the
yeah,
way. They, that thing happens in real life. Like
I thought that's what friends do. Okay.
oh, got him.
no, we react. So that's the
Yeah,
difference.
that's true. That's true.
Right back at
Darn
you.
it. Dang it.
Yeah.
Dang it. Dang it. Dang it.
But anyway, like, and I don't know if there's an exact thing that they do where I know there's a thing they do where they actually to help someone with like mental illness, they'll actually like lock him in a room and they'll basically like kind of do another kind of processing session, but like it's way more extreme and they're locked in a room, so it's a lot more damaging to the psyche. And so watching a lot of those scenes in this movie, it does drain you. It really does. Like in a lot of ways, you kind of feel like you're freaking
I
losing your mind too.
I wasn't
So
joking when I said that before we started. I was like, man, the last 30 minutes I was drained. I was like,
yeah,
oh my goodness. And like Matt said, where is this going? Because I was hoping there was a payoff,
yeah.
and I was so drained.
The
I was being honest.
the ending scene, or not the ending scene, but the last big scene to me, which is them talking and him singing and then Joaquin kind of crying. That whole moment, that was actually really good. And once again, we saw some really good acting. And like Sterling said, there was some really interesting dialogue there and good lines that were interesting. My problem was after that, it seemed like they didn't know how to end the movie. I think they could have ended it at that exact scene. They could
Yeah.
have even just cut to him on the beach with the boobs or whatever, fine. But the whole scene where he just picks up the girl in the bar and it's just that really awkward sex scene, I just didn't get that, and it was almost embarrassing for the filmmakers for me. I was embarrassed for the people. And I even told Christy, I'm like, could you imagine
Yeah.
this broad, she gets this big role in this Paul Thomas Anderson movie. She's in the theater and this is the scene they give her, probably one of the worst scenes that it was so, it just didn't seem significant. And it just, here's the thing. I was like, here we go. This is the time for something very profound to happen. And instead, you just got the scene where he started repeating some of the process. Like maybe you're trying to say that, hey, he has some leftover issues from these people. But the scene did not make sense to me. It was weird. I don't know. I was
will add,
disappointed. And so I was just very
Yeah.
disappointed in the movie at
Go
that point.
go Trey.
I to I would give you that because I thought that they were gonna go somewhere interesting where he would start doing the teachings because he started
Yeah.
asking those questions.
That
I was
would
like,
be
oh, he's gonna
interesting.
start doing that,
Yeah.
you know. And then real quick, when he's on the beach, I thought I didn't fully interpret it this way, but could they be saying that either he was dreaming at all and we went back to square one to the beginning? That's where because of where the film started on the beach with the sand lady with the nipples out, or that he went back there and made the sand lady again and laid with her.
Yeah. That I was trying to figure
Well,
that out because it was unclear whether it was the same. It was a different shot, and it was hard to tell if it was the same sand titties or
yeah.
not.
Uh,
So
well, yeah, because it looks similar to the same shot of him laying there at the beginning, like after the day or whatever. And I'm like, so are they saying like this is the same time? Like I said, are they insinuating he dreamed a lot of this? And I'm not sure what you
Yeah.
guys think, but
I go ahead, Sterling.
No, I was just gonna say it is an uncomfortable. There's a lot of uncomfortable scenes, especially sexually. And it is an awkward. It's an awkward sex scene for sure. But I think that you kind of touched a little bit upon it, Matt. But I think the intention of it was to show that he was almost trying to eat his cake and have it too. Basically, he was trying like he's almost serving two masters at that point. He's serving his sex addiction. He's kind of a slave to sex addiction, but he's also like he's still kind of carried some of the things that he was taught with the cause. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, and I think that's why it shows that last shot of him with the lady and the sand lady.
Yeah.
I think that's why it shows that last shot because no matter how much he was taught, no matter how much progress he had, in the end, like he's kind of a slave to this one thing, and that's his sexual desires.
well, I mean, he has two, liquor and I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
both of them.
He
Which he
he's a
uses
mental
paint
nutcase.
thinner. Paint
My
thinner.
God, yeah, that was
'Cause
crazy.
what was he? He was using like the picture stuff, adding it, and like what
Oh,
is he
that
doing?
little
Like,
Play-Doh, little,
Yeah,
I was like, dang.
it's like a superpower, like you said, Matt. Like
He's like the MacGyver of boozers. I mean, this
yes,
guy,
how
yes.
does
this guy can
how
make
does he not get
anything.
poisoned?
I mean, he's literally
Yeah,
on like an
Yes.
island, it looks like, and he's like, I mean, I guess he had like a can of something, but when he knocked that thing down, I was like, interesting.
he should have been a bartender. That's what he should have
Oh
I
done.
know this
yeah,
could have been
right.
cocktail too. Eat your heart out.
Oh, Scientology 3. Tom Cruise goes crazy with Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that's the connection.
Yes.
We got a
Tom
crossover.
Yeah.
Cruise crossover.
Dude, this could be a new cinematic universe of Alkies.
Yeah, the
Oh goodness.
master's going to be the Xavier of this universe.
Yes.
Oh man.
But no, can I give a criticism and kind of a credit to the movie at the same time?
Okay, but nostalgia's
No.
not gonna like it.
Okay, I know he's not, but he's gonna have to deal with it.
I don't know if he
Anyway,
will. Hey.
so to me, the biggest weakness of this whole film by far is the pacing. I think there are definitely a lot of scenes that linger way too much. However, I for some of the scenes it does work because in a movie like this, you do need like time to breathe a little bit with what's going on. And so I think the kind of the slow pacing, kind of the lingering onto people just talking in rooms and having normal conversations, a lot of that either builds tension sometimes or it makes you feel like you're a part of this whole environment. And
Yeah.
so at times it does work, at times it does drag for sure.
I
And that's kind of an editing thing for sure
right.
that could have been touched upon a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more concise.
And
Um,
you're
yeah,
right that like short like there are scenes that should linger, uncomfortable scenes that are supposed to be uncomfortable, or like a lot of those conversational scenes where they really just stay on one shot for a long time. That makes sense. It's
yeah,
really just more certain times. Like, I mean, I can think of one particular shot that I don't see the purpose served by having it be so long. There's a shot where he sees the yacht or the boat or
yeah.
whatever, and he's walking at night next to it. It's right after he leaves that
The
one
farm.
farm or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it just kind of like follows him walking by this yacht. It doesn't even show his face or anything. And it does it for, it just, I'm like, these are the types of shots where it's like, they just didn't need to be like, you don't need a minute and a half, 2 minute tracking shot where it doesn't even show him get on. I mean, it does
yeah,
eventually, but not in that shot. And there's certain things
It
like
was
that where they could
it
have
was the same shot.
maybe. Well, I'm just saying I don't remember, so maybe it was at the end, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of scenes like that where there was no tension being built or anything. It was just slow, and
yeah,
sometimes it looked beautiful, but the movie, it was a 2.5 hour movie. I feel like this movie would have felt more exciting if it was 2 hours or 2 hours and 10 minutes or something. There were just certain spots that went long, and
yeah,
I like, this is the guy coming from Blade Runner, both Blade Runner 2049 and the original are both movies that they're long movies and they have a lot of like drawn out things. But
yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes it depends on what's going on and what's happening.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll add to that. With the editing and pacing. So the first act I thought was I thought it was really quick because they were setting up the character, and I'm not sure if maybe I missed something if he had a jacket with him, but he had like a funky like a funny shirt or like a bunch of stuff on his shirt when he's like telling the people like I didn't poison him, and they chase him in the field. Like when they cut to him walking along with the boat there, I'm like, did they just fast forward a year, 2 years, a
Right.
day, 10 minutes? That even the whole movie in general it felt very disjointed.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, there was some stuff that kind of went together, but especially that first act, it was very, very weird, pacing and edited so weird, like because you didn't know where you were. Like, I'm like, where are they now? I
Yeah.
didn't see. I saw a farm. I didn't see an ocean. Like,
Yeah. Is
like
this guy in
honestly, I'm
Mexico?
like,
What's going on?
yeah,
Hefe Blanca
it
around
was
here?
weird.
Yeah, I know. There was some other movie we reviewed where
Oh,
we
man.
talked about that, where sometimes like the movie doesn't actually give you an idea of how much time is passing, and that doesn't need to be necessary. But like you have a character in the movie that's pregnant, and Amy Adams is all of a sudden gets a little pregnant, and then she stays that amount of pregnant for a long amount of the movie where it looks like a lot of stuff's going on. And then all of a sudden she's not pregnant when he's in England. So I'm like, so we're like, is this a year later? Is this a couple months later? Is this a week later?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not
Same thing.
necessarily needs to be spelled out, but sometimes just a little indicator of how long it's been or where we're at. Because otherwise you do start feeling like, where are we in the timeline? You know, what's going on?
I was so happy when he got on the bike. I was like, he's not coming back. And it took him a while, but yeah, he never came back, baby.
that that that's a good scene where it's a long tracking shot, but
It looked good,
it's
though.
it was a great shot, but that was a scene where it was kind of building to something. It was building to the fact of, wait, is he leaving? Wait, no, he's not leaving. So that's a good example of kind of lingering and giving some breathing room.
Yeah. I also,
but,
did you notice that they both went in different directions? I don't know if that was on purpose, but even the cinematography, you know, for all we know, they could have been going the same direction or whatever, but like the way they shoot it, he's going this way, he's going the other way. I'm not kidding. That was one of the scenes I thought, I don't know why. Me and Christy both thought this, but I thought that he was going to either drive as far as you can that way or go and you can't stop. I thought that was going to be the moment where we see the master like kill somebody off. I don't know why. I thought he was going to kill the son or something. Not the son, but the son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
I don't know why, but I thought that guy was going to wreck or someone was going to crash or someone was going to die. And I was
I
surprised
thought he was going to die.
I did too.
Seymour. I thought he was.
I did too. And then Freddy gets on. I'm like, oh boy, he's going to crash now. So I just thought someone was going to die. So it took me until after the scene to realize what it was showing, but
yeah. Well, I don't have too much to add really.
no.
I think I'll just go ahead and kind of say some final thoughts for myself. I think this movie is pretty good. I think it's kept back a little bit because of some pacing issues, and I think some of the more uncomfortable scenes are done well, but other scenes don't feel necessary. But most of this movie hinges on the fact that there are two world-class actors, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix, and their chemistry is incredible. And there's the two scenes, him doing the first processing and the last scene between them, which I think is the most profound scene of them all, where he says, if you found a way to not serve a master, please let the rest of us know. And I think that's kind of the main message of the movie. And even though maybe it's kind of anticlimactic and maybe there could have been something a lot more satisfying, I do think I think that line is a really well-written line, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's just such a good actor. Like, that last scene, he barely moves his head, like, in that entire scene, but, like, he's just such charismatic. He's just such a great actor that he can somehow captivate you, and he doesn't move barely at all. So, yeah, I think the direction overall was pretty decent too. I just think the editing probably could have been a lot better, and I think cinematography was very, very good for the most part. And I think definitely this movie benefits a lot more if you've done a little bit of research into Scientology, because you definitely kind of get more out of it, and it kind of, whenever you see kind of the little references to some of the things they do as a church, it kind of does excite you a little bit, like, oh shit, like, I've read about that. That's interesting. Like, I've seen that happen. So yeah, but I definitely think this movie is not for everyone. This is very this is very much a kind of what kind of mood you're in type of movie, I would say. And you need to realize that there's a lot of abstract kind of concepts going on, and it's not very spelled out at all. So, decent movie, not the best I've ever seen, but the performances are incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, go. I agree with a lot of that, and especially the editing and pacing and all that. But in the end, I fully regret watching this. Yes. but the acting was superb. Another Sterling that movie that Trey didn't like, but hey, maybe there's always a next time. But no, I enjoyed the acting. Like we said, there's a couple scenes where you think it's gonna pick up and it didn't. So in that respect, it was disappointing overall. But man, like you said, two world class actors, R.I.P. You know, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and oh man, we can't. Yeah, Papa bless. And I mean, gosh, not the jokes aside, like he was a superb actor, and yeah, and well, we still got Joaquin, got Joker 2 coming in a couple of years, baby. Uh, yeah, so we're blessed to have that actor, and you know that's sadly after your 5 minute speech, I got like 2 minutes and 10 seconds of great acting. That's all the possible I can get. Matt, take it away, baby. Oh man.
Well, I want to say I wanted to, you know, if anyone's seen the Parasite review, that was an example of a movie that I didn't like right off the bat, and actually Parasite and Clockwork Orange are two examples of movies where I really didn't like them when we did the review, and both of those movies I watched right before I did the podcast. And as time went on, I kind of appreciated them more, and I'd think back on them, and they were a little better and more influential. This was one where I'm like, I'm going to try not to be so – I don't want to dive straight into like, I hate this, it sucked, you know. I think because it's hard because you watch a movie, I was disappointed by the end of the movie. And if you're lingering in that disappointed emotion, then you can look back on the movie and everything, you know. So I wanted to be careful this week, and I feel like here's the thing. I'm glad I watched the movie, and I think that just the acting alone from Joaquin and Philip Seymour Hoffman is enough to watch this movie if you really like the art of acting, because it is great. The movie falls short to me in the sense of I felt like it had some profound things. Thinking back, like Sterling saying some of the stuff about the Master and the Master's call. And well, he didn't say that, but it makes me think of like that concept. Then you look back on the movie and go, okay, I can kind of actually see some of the deeper meaning here that I was missing directly after. So it's one of those ones I'll have to think on more. But I'll say just as an initial viewing, the biggest problem to me was that the movie wasn't entertaining throughout. It had certain scenes that were mesmerizing. I mean, I literally had kind of a clenched fist when I was watching that first processing scene where he has his eyes open because I just realized it was so tense. I love that scene. So that stands out to me. You know, it's kind of like Trey was saying on Unforgiven. It's like, hey, that last scene in Unforgiven where he goes to the bar is so good. It's like there's certain scenes in this movie that are so good that it makes the rest of it worth watching, even though it's a long movie. You know, so it's one I'll have to think on more, but there's a lot there. My fear is that I'll watch it again over time and that some of the deeper meaning stuff just isn't represented very well, maybe in some ways. You know, but it looks beautiful. The cinematography is really, there's some really stunning looking visuals in the movie. The stuff that the cult kind of stuff, the Scientology stuff was exciting and interesting and weird, and it kind of freaks you out a little bit, and so that was cool. Yeah. So overall, like, look, if you really like the art of like acting, then I would say watch this movie. If you just want like really interesting stuff happening in a movie, I would say this probably is not your movie. There's just not a lot going on in the movie consistently. There's little bits here and there, but it's a 2.5 hour movie. Like Trey said, you get about 2.5 minutes of good act. I don't know if that's what you were trying to say, but anyway, no, it's anyway. I would say check it out. If not of that, I mean, if you liked Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Joker, this is actually somewhat of a similar character in certain ways. So if you liked that acting, then you will like this character too. And that's the thing, the character's so interesting and got a lot of levels to him, and so both characters do, and that's the pivot point of the whole movie.
as far as sorry, I just wanted to say real quick.
You already had your
The
turn.
guy that they got to play Lancaster's son, Jesse Plemons, that was really good casting.
Yeah, that
He
was
looks just like
bizarre.
Philip Seymour
Yeah.
Hoffman.
Yeah, that was
How are
really
they not
weird.
related?
It almost seemed like they were making a joke when Freddy goes, "I can see the resemblance" or something like that. It was almost like because it really looked just like him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, hope I want to say one thing before we close out. If you guys have anyone watching, if you guys have movies that you want us to watch, comment below. I mean, we're up and gumming off the ground on this Film Schmucks thing, so we get a handful of comments each episode, but like if you leave comments, we're probably gonna read them on the air. We'll mention your name, and we're probably gonna be interested in whatever you guys are recommending. So leave comments and make sure you subscribe. We do them every week. So you want to
It
close
helps
this out?
helps the algorithm. It helps us get views.
You don't need to tell them that, but thanks, Sterling. But yeah, subscribing. Personally for me, I love seeing people subscribe and thank you for subscribing. And like Matt said, just comment. We love the interactions. Like a when you say ABIJ, like Abby J, whatever your name is, keep on commenting. I want to see a battle in the comments when nostalgia is real. And Abby J, bring it on. Let the battles begin. Let's go. But yeah, like, subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Film Schmucks.
Cut it. You get more and more disappointed in the cut it.